You said this word thousands of times. You chase it, you negotiate for it, you lose sleep over it. You might even measure your entire self-worth by it. But almost nobody stops to ask the obvious question. Why do we call it a salary? Because hidden inside that completely ordinary word is a story so strange, so ancient, and so disturbingly relevant that once you hear it, you'll never look at payday the same way again. And the weirdest part? It starts with salt. Yes, salt. The stuff sitting forgotten in your kitchen right now next to a gas bill and some takeout menus, which sounds ridiculous until you realize entire civilizations were built around it. Wars were fought over it. Empires protected it like nuclear codes. People died for it. And at one point in history, it was so valuable it functioned almost like money itself. But that's only where the story begins, because the truth behind salary isn't really about salt. It's about control. And that's where things get uncomfortable. Thousands of years ago, before credit cards, before bank accounts, before your employer sends a direct deposit at 2:13 a.m. like some sort of financial ghost, there was ancient Rome, a civilization obsessed with order, power, expansion, and bureaucracy, honestly, their greatest achievement. Romans understood something most empires eventually learn. You can conquer territory with soldiers, but you keep it with systems. And systems require people who show up every day, people who follow orders, people who trade their time for compensation. Sound familiar? Now here's where it gets interesting. Many people have heard the popular claim that Roman soldiers were literally paid in salt. It's one of those facts that appears in trivia books, motivational speeches, and that one uncle who watches too many history documentaries at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. The problem? It's probably not exactly true. Roman soldiers were generally paid in money, actual coin. But there was a Roman term, salarium, connected to salt. Some historians believe it referred to an allowance for purchasing salt. Others tie it to the famous Via Salaria, the salt road, the trade route that moved this mineral across the empire. The details are debated. The connection is real, and somehow that makes the story even more fascinating, because the word survived long after the empire collapsed, long after the legions vanished, long after Rome became something people argue about on the internet. Salarium evolved through Latin, through Old French, salaire, into English by the 13th century, and eventually it became the word on your employment contract. Think about that for a second. An empire disappears, its buildings crumble, its emperors are forgotten, yet one tiny administrative word quietly survives 2,000 years and ends up meaning your monthly paycheck. History has a very strange sense of humor.
But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Why salt? Why was it important enough to get tangled up with the concept of payment in the first place? Because salt wasn't just seasoning, it was survival. Before refrigeration existed, food spoiled quickly. Salt preserved meat, it extended life. It allowed armies to travel for months across campaigns. It supported trade networks that spanned continents. Without salt, communities became vulnerable. Without salt, empires didn't march. Salt wasn't a luxury, it was security. And here is where the Roman soldier knew something most modern workers have completely forgotten. He understood the weight of what he was holding. He knew exactly what salt cost, what it bought, what it meant to have it, and what it meant to not have it. Now fast forward 2,000 years. You earn a salary, and most people, when asked what their salary actually is, can barely explain it. Net versus gross, tax brackets, deductions they've never read, money that disappears into systems they don't understand, for services they didn't choose, at rates they never negotiated. The Roman soldier knew the weight of his salt. Do you know the weight of yours? But here's the part historians don't always lead with. Salt wasn't just used to pay soldiers. Salt was used to control people. In the ancient world, Roman, Greek, Egyptian, salt was rationed, withheld, used as leverage. There are records of salt being dangled as reward and withdrawn as punishment, not just for armies, for enslaved people doing the empire's work. The same word, the same mineral, the same system. Sal, payment, control, dependency. And this is the deeply uncomfortable truth about the salary's origin. The structure of it, regular, controlled, dispensed by a more powerful party, didn't originate from freedom. It originated from dependency, from a system specifically designed to keep people needing the next payment. Now, I want to pause here, because I'm not here to tell you that having a job is slavery. That's too simple. That's a bumper sticker, not a philosophy. What I am saying is this: language carries memory. Words remember things we've forgotten. And when you trace a word back far enough, you don't just find history, you find a mirror. Here's where the salary truly transforms into the thing we recognize today. For most of human history, people were paid for what they produced. A farmer grew crops, a blacksmith made horseshoes, a merchant sold goods. Your income was tied to something real, something you could hold in your hands. Then the factory happened.
Suddenly, you weren't paid for what you made, you were paid for your time, for showing up, for being present inside someone else's building, operating someone else's machinery, producing wealth that belonged to someone else. The salary became a psychological arrangement dressed up as a financial one. And here's the haunting part. People wanted it. The salary felt like safety. After centuries of crop failures, drought, famine, market collapse, a guaranteed payment at the end of the month felt like heaven. The cage was comfortable. The salt was sweet. And so we stayed. This is where everything stops being about etymology and starts being about you. Because the deeper story of salary isn't economic, it's human. Humans crave certainty. We want guarantees. We want predictable outcomes. We want protection against the chaos that keeps us awake at 3 a.m. A salary promises exactly that. Show up, follow the rules, receive compensation. Repeat. It's beautifully simple, almost comforting, until you realize that no salary can purchase more time, no paycheck can stop aging, no promotion can negotiate with mortality. Cheerful, I know, perfect lunch break content. And yet, that's what makes the word so fascinating, because hidden inside it is a permanent contradiction. The thing meant to help us live often consumes the very life it's helping us preserve. Ask someone who they are. Watch how often they answer with their job title. Not their obsessions, not their weird 2 a.m. thoughts, not the things they do if the salary disappeared tomorrow. Their salary became their identity, their score, their measurement of whether they mattered. The Roman soldier who accepted his salt payment was in the same transaction agreeing to march wherever Rome told him to march, to fight whoever Rome told him to fight. The salt bought his compliance as much as his loyalty. And we inherited that contract without reading the fine print. Every time you negotiate a salary, you are, somewhere in the linguistic and historical DNA of that word, reenacting a 2,000-year-old transaction between power and dependency. You are the soldier. The company is Rome. The salt is the number in your account. Now, and I want you to think about this, that doesn't make you a victim. The Roman legionaries were some of the most formidable human beings who ever walked the earth. They were paid in salt, and they conquered the world. The question was never whether you're being paid. The question is what you're building with it. The word salary has been with us for over 2 millennia. It has passed through empires, languages, revolutions, and recessions. It has survived every economic system humanity has ever tried. And every month, it shows up in your bank account, quietly carrying all of that history inside it. A crystal of salt, a Roman soldier's boot, a factory whistle, your alarm clock. Same word, same deal. The only thing that has ever separated the soldier from the general, the worker from the owner, the dependent from the free, is what someone decided to do with what they were given. You are paid in salt. The question is whether you're spending it or building something with it. Every word you use is a fossil, and most of us spend our whole lives walking on bones we've never bothered to look down at.